Hey all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I am joined by Bitsy Tandem, writer of Maiden in Disguise. How you doing, Bitsy?
Hi, I'm good. Nice to be here today. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, many of you guys are familiar with Bitsy's work. We've had her on the show before. Today we're going to be talking more about her Maiden in Disguise new game and other works that she has, and generally the world of Eotera, correct?
Yes.
I'm always worried. I want to make sure I nail that Eotera.
Yeah.
Let's go with this first. Actually, I want to talk about your website, eotera.com, which is so cool. How long did it take to make this website?
Like a year, I I hired a Russian company to do it
Mm-hmm.
because they um they just did a great job for like half the price of an American company. And
I don't blame you.
yeah. And they were one of the only places I found that could actually do the interactive map that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the League of Legends interactive map one day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to have this. So whoever can do this is like, we're going with you.
Great inspiration. Right over there with that League of Legends is everything they'd make is pretty awesome. That's good
Yeah.
inspiration. What is your goals with this website? Because I know that you it's kind of a central hub right now of your manga, some games and stuff like that, a community building place, and of course this amazing map. What are some of the future goals you have for eotera.com?
So right now we're trying to get like consistent content going. We want to have bi-monthly web comics as well as like blogs and stories and stuff that people can kind of interact with off the main story. I don't know how to explain it. Like,
In the world of eotera, basically, right? Because it seems like all these
yeah,
stories,
yeah.
either present day or in the past, War of Sands I'm very excited about, are at some point in the world of eotera. So you're kind of building this world out, right?
Yes.
Similar, like maybe like Magic the Gathering, if you guys, or D&D, it's all kind of in that same era,
Mhm,
but the
mhm.
details are outstanding. That's where it's all at, is those details.
Thanks. Thanks. I worry sometimes because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I don't have all of the, holidays up yet," or, "I haven't quite finished putting up some of the other information I want on there." And, it's a work in progress. It takes time, and, we're currently looking to onboard somebody to help with that content because 'cause I'm like, "There's only one of me, and I need, like,
Yeah,
5 more Bitsies," so
I completely understand it. When you're creating, there's a level of perfectionism and also just needing to get the workout that clash all the time. And so
Mhm,
I
mhm.
feel you.
Yeah, my last blog post was like 4 months ago or something, and I'm like, "Oh, no." So, that's what we're working on next is kinda getting more consistent updates.
Now, how do you do as a creator pushing your words out, your content out there? Like, if are you? I know you're on social media. How often are you pushing over there on social media? And is that something you struggle with, or do you find that as a useful tool?
So when I'm being a good Bitsy, I post every day, but that
Yeah.
hasn't been the last couple months. I was pretty on it last year, but,
Hmm.
uh, it drains me. I hate social media posting.
Me
It's
too.
just not my thing. So that's, like, another part of, like, get a personal assistant to kinda help with that because
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I'm just like, "Hi, friends."
Yeah. I'm still
Uh
here.
Blank. Yeah, exactly.
The work continues.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm the behind the scenes person. I write, I draw. I'm like, I'm not super good at the being the face of the company thing.
Yeah. Always the joke we got around here is the first person we hire is social media manager, because that's the one thing I can't stand to. I'll
Yes.
edit podcasts all day long. I just don't want to have to tweet all day.
Yeah, agreed.
So let's go ahead and get back to your flagship book. We have Maiden in Disguise. Now, this is new game, and I think we talked about this before. It's basically kind of a refresh of your old title, correct?
Correct. So, for those of you who would like some cringe in their life, Maiden in Disguise is a webcomic that I started in 2014 with a couple of my friends, and it was just kind of supposed to be a gag, kind of funny, little romance. And as I was writing it, I decided that I wanted to actually migrate it into the world of Yotera, which I had been building for a different series kind of on the back burner because I still haven't released that series either. That one's like my baby, and I've been building it since like 2012. What was I saying? So Maiden in Disguise. I was like, let's incorporate it. This it's getting better than just a gag. We're all having fun with it, and I was getting pretty popular on Line Webtoon for a while.
Hmm.
And so there was a lot of fan interaction. I was like, let's do it. Let's just like make it a whole thing for Yotera. And then I tried to like put in context after the fact. So I'm like, what is it, like 25 chapters in, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh hey, we have context now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the combination of the bad art and the lack of context, and I'm like sitting here 5 years later, like I need to redo this.
That perfectionism kicks in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, has there been generally, because I'm sure there has been, but has there been generally praise for the reboot? Because I mean, looking at the art, it all looks amazing. And the new
Thanks.
stuff, especially. I mean, it always looks good, right? Of course, like, yeah, it always looks good. I know for you, it may not have, but it looks really good now. Have you seen pretty good feedback coming out of this reboot?
So I haven't had a lot of people read the digital version I released to the Kickstarter uh, people early. I think a
Mhm.
lot of them are like waiting for the book. They're like, I want to read it when it's in
Yeah.
my hands. So I'm like, but I want to know what you think. So I haven't gotten a ton of feedback, but the few people who have read it have really enjoyed it. And, the art is worlds better than it was before. So that helps. But we ripped the story down to its bones and kind of rebuilt it with an actual timeline. And we're working on writing all the way to the finish. So we've got that done before we launch book two to really make it cohesive. Because one thing I am really big on is like brand cohesiveness, I guess. It's like,
Yeah.
I hate it when they're like, oh, you can't do this because of these reasons. And then the characters do that. So let's make sure it's all nice and neat before we try and continue the story, but we've basically wrapped up the first two-ish books, kind of,
Hmm.
uh, plus the context into the new book one. And it's just worlds better in terms of like world building and storytelling as well. Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this makes sense. This is linear. This is like, it's not random. It's not a gag comic anymore. It's just romance, comedy, little sci-fi, little fantasy.
Yeah.
Look,
And the gamers out there definitely find a place here, especially you MMO
mhm.
players like myself. This is where you're at. This is it right here. It's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. It starts in game in the MMO, and
Hmm.
so you really get a feel of like who this person is, and then you see, okay, the tiny girl playing her is very much like juxtaposition. Is that the right word? Like
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so you kind of see her struggling with not knowing who she is, but also turning into her video game character in those moments
Hmm.
where she feels her confidence. And I think it's hilarious because she'll go from like, don't look at me, I'm super shy, to like owning the whole place when she's like in character for a moment.
Yeah.
And
She embraces that identity, and then
yeah,
it's kind of almost interchangeable. The identities,
that's a great way to say it.
Elena has a second identity. It's this video game identity. And then when she reveals to the world, like, hey, this is who I am, she's worried, I'm not this masculine video game character that's all muscles. Do you
Mhm.
ever feel the same way, as in, like, I'm just back here writing my book that I'm very proud of and happy with. And yet, there's this really cool character I'm making. Do you ever kind of tie yourself with the characters you're creating?
Kind of. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say quite to the extent of Ellie because she's a little more caricatured, obviously. But a lot of her insecurities and stuff stem from my real world experiences and in high school and being kind of a little more boyish in school and
Hmm.
just like not fitting in with the girls or the boys. And recently, I realized that I'm probably non-binary and have been looking more into that and kind of finding myself. But I'm like, I've never really fit in anywhere, and I kind of
Right.
wanted to breach that with Ellie, who's like, I am neither this hyper masculine man or very feminine, and I'm she's 14 and hormonal, and she's like, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. Uh,
14. That's rough
yeah,
age right there.
yeah.
So many questions, no answers.
Hmm.
That's a tough age. Well, I just that's so fascinating. The idea of identity and who you are being all wrapped up into the story. And I like the idea that you could kind of explore your own personal life through your creation. And that's just so cool. It makes everybody more interested in this character when they know it's coming from your heart. So that's just so neat.
Oh, thanks.
Everybody has to go read this, of course. Uh, I know Squeaks already bought the book and he loved it and stuff. So, uh, which is you talked to Squeaks last time, so I know he's a big fan as well. Now, going forward, we have you said the first two books are essentially done, right?
Yes, we have physically written the first two books, but we don't want to start on book two until we've written all the way to the end. So,
I see. Yeah.
yeah, because we want to have maybe like 10 or 15. I don't want it too long. I still have that super secret project that I started in
Oh
2012
yeah.
that I haven't
That's
worked
just
on.
looming behind you,
Right.
the whole
And
time.
I told myself I would start it at when I turned 25, and I
Hmm.
turned 27 next month. Oh, so
That just hit you.
yay. Uh-huh.
Well, that's so exciting. So, okay, so going forward with this story with these characters, will we learn more about Eoterra? Are we going to see them starting to blend more and more with Eoterra? Are they going to become one? Because you have so many of these cool short stories that I can't wait to hear about more of these
Oh,
in this.
those, yes.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering, will they tie in with You Made Into Disguise, basically?
Yeah, in little ways. So,
Mm.
we have Tsukiyami no Kambujin, which is the very first side story that I have found an artist for, and it's been super rewarding to do. If you like samurais
Yeah,
stuff and traditional Japanese themes, check that out. It's on Kickstarter every couple months. We're just getting started, so episode
yeah.
2 is going to be made soon. Like we got it kickstarted, so the artist is on it. We're waiting. And you'll see like in history class and stuff, like it'll be mentioned. Like it's more
Mhm.
just kind of like this is the world and this is a historical thing that happened. And so yes,
Oh,
it
it's
does
so
impact the
cool.
future of Yoterra, even if it's not hugely impacting Ellie's personal life. Um, the War of the Sands one that you said you're
Mhm.
excited for is
Yeah.
another historical. It's even further before Tsukiyami no Kambujin. So the War of the Sands follows like one of the very first like tribal wars in the Desert Kingdom Rimtaldi, and that one is just going to be a 4-part anthology. And I hope that all of those are decently thick. And I'm kind of hoping to get a different artist for each one, and maybe even like support African artists and kind of try and make it a little bit more of a group effort or a charity. I
Oh,
really
that's so
wanted to
cool.
do it. I really wanted to do it for Black Lives Matter a couple,
Mhm.
was it last year or the year before? Gosh, COVID has made everything such a blur.
Time is a blur. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just didn't have the resources to launch it then. So,
Mhm.
uh, but I really do want to kind of coincide that with Black Lives Matter and
Yeah.
bringing a lot more visibility and just fiction in general, like and comic books to the people who have been abused in our world.
Yeah, it's a great way to show everyday lives in such a cool
Mhm.
medium. And the art that you've already chosen is so cool that you've already got here for just the little key art, for War of Sands
Oh,
that I'm really excited for
thanks.
it. Yeah.
I made that.
Yeah, it turned out great. It looks good. Now you do
Thanks.
the artwork for Made in Disguise, correct?
I'm trying not to, but yes. Yeah. So Assistant Bean does the storyboards, and by
Mhm.
storyboards I mean stick figures, and sometimes he'll put in a meme picture, and be like, "Give him this face,"
Yeah.
and then I do the rest. So sketch, ink, color, formatting.
Oh,
It's a
it's so much
slog.
work.
It's a lot of
And you
work.
gotta keep up on social media. I mean, come on. It's not
No
fair.
way. Yeah.
I know
Um,
Aaron helps you out a lot. What kind of responsibilities does Aaron have?
So usually he is obviously my editor first and foremost. I
Hmm.
am very dyslexic and cannot spell. I even spell my character names wrong all the time. So he keeps the continuity of the names correct, and he makes sure that my words are good and express the correct thing. And sometimes he likes to change my dialogue and make it a little bit more fancy, and I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
I have to come in and be like, "That's not how Eric would talk.
Yeah.
No." But,
Yeah. It's a 14-year-old girl that doesn't need to have like British fancy language coming out of her.
yeah,
It's fine.
because he's such a, like, good writer, and
Yeah.
he knows English so well, and I'm like, "Is that even a word?"
Oh
Uh,
man. Don't play Scrabble with him. That's what I'm hearing. That's he sounds like it's a tough Scrabble competition.
I don't think I ever have, and I don't think I ever will. Uh,
I'm gonna avoid hanging out with that Scrabble tournament. That's for sure. Sounds like it'd
yeah.
be tough.
But other than that, oh, he actually helps with the backgrounds too. So he started learning 3D art last year, and
Oh wow.
the entire club room and the inside of Eliana's house is all 3D background that he made and rendered out for me, and it's beautiful and it's
That is
such
so
a
cool.
time saver.
Yeah.
So huge props to him for that. But he can't help anymore. He's going back to college, so I am assistantless.
Oh no.
Yeah,
He's got to put that homework behind. He's got to make that second place. His
yeah.
homework is less important than in Eoterra. That's what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
All right, we have Maiden in Disguise. People could pre-order that now. I'm going to put a link to that in the description of this
Yes,
episode. And
sweet.
then we have, I got the name written here phonetically, guys. Sukeyame no Kinbuchen. Did I get that
Very
right?
close. Mhm, you
Very
got the
close. I'll take.
Kimbujin.
There we go.
So you can just call it Kimbujin. It's so much simpler.
Make sure you guys check out the webcomic Kinbuchen every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
That's coming out. And if when they do check that out, that'll be on eoterra.com.
Yes. So
Okay.
the webcomic style will be free about a month or so release after the Kickstarter supporters get it. The Kickstarter supporters also get manga format, so like page
Oh,
format if
perfect.
you like books. So you get some exclusive stuff for that and like cameos and such. So yeah, because we can't pay the artist without the Kickstarters, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much that's what it is for. Like we're just paying the artist so it gets made in general,
Yeah.
and then we share it with the world.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. That you're literally seeing the money that instead of going and giving it to some big company that's kind of faceless, you're actually
Mhm.
seeing the money make something creative, and it's so cool. You also have a Patreon. What do the Patreon members get by chance?
So I do have a Patreon, and I tend to give them like similar, like if there's a Kickstarter and they, they're already my patrons, so I'll just
Mhm.
give them the same tier reward as their monthly patronage. I kind of fudge it and give them more because they're there all year.
Yeah. Oh, I
um,
trust me. I feel you. We do the same thing.
yeah, I've been sleeping on them a little these past couple months. I've been totally just I mean, I haven't been doing very well these past couple months with
Got to take a
being
break.
sick, running a
Yeah.
Kickstarter, finishing a book, publishing. I'm just
Yeah.
like half dead over here. Like, please wait for me to update my Patreon. I'm so sorry.
That's one thing we forgot to even bring up. The fact that you're your own publisher, right?
Yeah.
Eoterra Publishing. I mean,
Mhm.
how do you do it?
So it's a bit logistical, but once you've done it a couple times, it's kind of just plug and chug. Takes a
Yeah.
couple days to a week, and it's like money too. You have to pay
Yeah.
for things. You have to get your copyrights. You have to register. The hard part is making sure everything matches. So your copyright and your ISBN and all your metadata has to all match, and then my distribution company handles it from there.
Oh goodness. It's obviously, guys, go help her out on Kickstarter and Patreon. When you hear about all this stuff that's behind the scenes, you see how much work
Please.
goes into this process. Help out a little bit, guys.
I need an assistant. Please.
Yeah. So we'll have the links below, and then you guys can email your resume as an assistant.
Yeah, definitely.
Submit that
Contact
to
at
eoterra.com.
eoterra.com.
All right, so we're gonna have all those links below. I also wanted to talk to you. We're gonna discuss a little bit about other manga for people who are new
Yeah.
to this manga world, and I myself am very new to it. I mean, I read comic books, but nowadays I read mostly just indie comics because I talk to so many cool indie people. You give us that starter guide. That's what we're looking at now. We're looking at the starter guide. Can you give us a few examples of early manga for people to get into?
Okay, so I was thinking about this yesterday because you mentioned it, and I'm like, ooh, I need to prepare. But I think manga has such a huge just variety of I mean, almost I would say even more variety than American comic books. So there's pretty
That's
much
cool.
something out there for everybody. And if you're like me and you really like romantic comedies, with maybe a little bit more on the comedy end, my all-time favorite is School Rumble. They have a manga and an anime, and they are both just hilarious and adorable. And it kind of does what Maiden in Disguise does, where it follows two protagonists. So you've got
Hmm.
your girl and your boy. And I love the male lead. He's
Yeah.
one of my favorite characters ever. And he actually becomes a manga artist in the show. So it's
That's
just
so cool.
I love him so much. I highly recommend that if you want to laugh and see some cute anime girl plushies. Very good.
How long has that? How many issues are there, and how long ago did it start coming out?
So it's a little on the older side.
Hmm.
I think there's around 25-ish issues. It's not super long.
It's not bad,
Kind
yeah.
of a good length. Another uh, really good one that I really love. It's kind of newer, but nobody knows about it. And it's
Ooh.
very sad because it's really good. So if you like sci-fi and action, Dimension W is awesome. The art is so beautiful. The books really go in depth with the backstories of the characters, which I love. If you want to also watch the anime, I recommend doing both, read it and watch the anime because
Hmm.
they both kind of hit different things. And it has such a great anime opening. One of the best ever. Yeah, that one's really great. It follows like a samurai type man who's like kind of given up on the world and
Right.
uh and his robot sidekick that forces herself upon
That
him.
fits. That's
It's
perfect.
great. It's awesome.
Grumpy, rugged samurai
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh,
robot companion. That's perfect.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, every badass needs a loli.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so when they have the anime, do you suggest people who are new to manga check out those who have anime specifically so that you can kind of compare notes?
Mm. I usually recommend you read the book first and
Okay.
then enjoy the anime, just because a lot of anime tend to have filler. Like Bleach is one of my
Yeah.
all-time favorite manga, but there is a lot of episodes that I just skip in the anime because it's just like, this did not happen, this is
Yeah.
not canon, and this is boring.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They got to sell ad space.
Right. Oh man, there is so much filler in Bleach. It almost hurts to watch past a certain point because
Mhm.
there's so many filler characters, and I'm like, what is going on? This is
Yeah.
nothing like the source material anymore.
Yeah. So
But
definitely read that manga first so that you get the better version of it basically.
yeah, yeah. And then you can enjoy the really cool theme song and the great animation.
Yeah. We actually just did last week. We did top 5 anime intros. So I've had Sailor Moon stuck in my head for a week now. It's so good. I've got the like a dub remix of the Japanese version literally on my Spotify playlist. It's just going off like
That's
crazy.
awesome. I've got the Dimension W on my MP3 player. Yeah, I still
Yeah.
use an MP3 player.
Hey, it works.
And
It works.
I'm surprised it still works. It's old, but every time it comes on, my husband is like, "You have to turn up the volume. Turn up the
Nice.
volume." It's great.
Oh, that's cool. Do you guys usually share like, do you guys read the same manga? So you guys, "Oh, hey, did you check out this part?" Blah, blah, blah?
We don't actually read the same
Really?
manga. He reads a lot more than I do, just in general. I read
Mhm.
kind of slow, so it's like if I'm gonna read, it's
Me
gonna be
too.
like a that's gonna be my day.
Yeah.
So I have to like set aside time. But he reads like so fast, so he'll come back
Yeah.
and be like, "I started 3 new manga today and I just finished one of them." And I'm like, "What?" And
What?
he reads a lot of like he calls them titty girl manga.
Oh
So
god.
basically like trash manga.
Yeah.
So, um,
Oh
so it's
goodness.
like just what's one of the like my dress up doll just got an anime. That one's actually really good. Um,
Yeah.
I forget what the Japanese name for it is. It's long and confusing. And then he's got another one that's like Otome games are hard on NPCs or something like that. And it's
Mhm.
like he's like they're terrible, but they're surprisingly good. You should read them. And
Well,
I'm
yeah,
like,
if you
these
could read
are
3
so
a day,
weird.
then sure, I'd keep up with you, but come on.
Right.
Oh, I'm not like that. I have to like, okay, I gotta have the right music on,
Mhm,
good glass
mhm,
of water,
mhm,
nobody
mhm.
distracting me, so I can
Yeah,
focus on this. This is a project of mine now.
same.
Yeah.
It's an event. It's like, this is
Yeah.
my evening.
Any other manga you suggest to newcomers?
So we talked about School Rumble and Dimension W.
Mhm.
Ooh, there's so many that I love. I could just start rattling them off. Probably not. So this one doesn't have a manga, it's a novel, but it does have
Oh,
an
wow.
anime. Mhm.
Okay.
So I don't they just skipped the manga step and went straight to anime after the
Yeah.
novel was written. You may have heard about it. It's recently been gaining a lot of popularity. It's called Overlord. That one's
I haven't heard of that
very
yet.
high fantasy D&D. The main character is
Ooh.
just like one of my D&D player friends. Like we're in a group and
Yeah.
my character and his character always have a fun dynamic and I'm like this character is you. He is exactly your character. And it's hilarious.
Oh, man. You know what? Iatero would make a really good map for, some D&D match games, I'm telling you.
Mhm. Mhm.
That would be
We
some good future.
we want to do a tabletop game of the actual MMO in the world,
Oh,
but
nice.
like an Eoterra Shadowrun-esque, more kind of like science fiction version of a tabletop game would be
Yeah.
really dope.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, man.
life goals.
Add that
The
to that
next
very long to-do
Kickstarter.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got like 18 Kickstarters on my list. I'm like, we like right mark that in at like 25. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get
What do you play in D&D? I myself am a cleric, so I'm
oh nice.
healing all the mistakes of my party. What are you up to?
So I typically do assassins, but recently I've been playing a warlock.
Oh, that's a fun one.
It's so fun, and he's a half dragon, and so he's
Oh, wow.
like a total Chad bro.
Oh, great.
It's just he's so much fun.
Uh,
Um, he's actually we I worked in pretty much all of our D&D campaign to the MMO version of like in Maiden in Disguise, like the MMO game Luminarion.
mhm.
So if you'll see like Elrond Agrenar is the son of my D&D character, Rayonix Agrenar. And so it's like these little sprinkles
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like uh
Easter eggs just
yeah.
for you that make you happy. That's awesome.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Pretty much. Be like, hey Segundus, you're in my comics, see? In the
Yeah.
background. See?
Do you share your comics with your friends, like, as soon as they're in one or just generally when they come out, are you like, "You guys gotta check it out. New one is out today."
Yeah, I do. They read them eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like I have a lot of friends into fantasy, but not like a lot of them read manga, I guess.
Mhm.
And and they're also in America, so we don't really talk a lot anymore.
Oh, the
So,
struggles. Yeah.
mhm. So it's like we haven't even played D&D in like a oh gosh, has it been a year since our last thing?
That can happen
But
so easily. It's amazing how easy
mhm.
that can happen.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard to keep connections with people. But I like to think they enjoy the comics. I know they like being in them.
Yeah.
They're like, "Hey, can I add this detail? Because I know you said you wanted my character here. Can I add this detail in?" And I'm like, "Sure, sure, no
Yeah.
problem." I love it. I've got a friend who supports every single Kickstarter campaign. He was my very first D&D dungeon master. He
Oh,
supports
that's cool.
everything I do, and he has consistently bought my cameos. And he's like, "I want to put my D&D character in here, here, and here." And I'm like, "How am I going to make that work, canonically speaking?" And
Yeah.
we figured it out, and it's great.
Someone's about to be a portal jumper. I think that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have like some guy just making portals and jumping around in places to make it all fit in, like a Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty or something.
Ah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I love adding that stuff in, like little Easter eggs just for us. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, all the funds that you're gaining here are basically going to paying artists and just making more and more of this really cool world. And
Mhm.
so you gotta have fun along the way. And I mean, what a great way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts. I really love writing the stories too and being like, I entered a character in here, or like there's a subplot or like a mention of something here or there, and I'll show someone and they'll be like, "That's amazing." And then I have to draw it. That's not a good time, but hey,
Yeah. That's time
can't
consuming.
time consuming.
Out of curiosity, because the planning ahead's gotta be pretty far.
Mm.
How many notebooks, like how many pieces of paper do you actually have of like scratched on, like, oh, you know what? This is a good idea. Is how high is that pile next to you?
So I used to have a literal pile when I lived in America. I had a desk
Yeah.
and it had like 3 drawers to the
Oh
side, like a
no.
whole office thing, and those
Yeah.
were full. And then I had like extra papers all around.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, "We're moving to Japan and we're probably gonna have a tiny apartment." So I took all of that and I took pictures or I typed it up digitally, and
There
now
we go.
pretty much everything is just on my Evernote. So I've got like
Mhm.
folders and folders in Evernote, which is a great website if you're a
Yeah.
writer, and yeah, it's been super helpful. So thankfully the pile is non-existent, but the information is still there.
It's there, so it's virtually,
Yeah.
it's always watching and waiting to be used.
Yes.
Oh
I
man.
stayed up past midnight last night writing in my Evernote because I had a great idea for the ending of Maiden in Disguise. Because we're gonna we're gonna have like the Eoterra story and the Luminarion story both kind of have a full story arc, so beginning,
Yeah.
middle, and end. And I was writing the Luminarion story arc ending, and I'm like over there like typing on my cell phone in the like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm crying. I'm like, "It's gonna be beautiful. It's sad."
Trying to like just focus and get it all down, or else I'll forget it. I can't let the yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
I've got I've got these notepads scattered throughout the house for ideas. Like, we got one
Oh
next
no.
to my bed and pens and everything because I can't, I'll forget. And it's like, no, 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 it's
Mhm,
perfect.
mhm,
It has to
mhm.
go down on paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, man.
definitely.
Well, Bitsy, I think that's where we'll end it today. It was just wonderful talking to you again.
Oh, thanks.
I can't wait for everybody to check out Eoterra and Maiden in Disguise. What are those socials so people can start following you and getting all those updates?
So I've been recently changing my social medias to Bitsy_the_alien. It used to be the Bitzer. Some stuff is still under that, but nobody knows how to spell it, so I changed it.
That's good thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
The alien, I have seen that key art quite a bit. Is that sort of like the narrator or guide character for your world?
So, we've got like we've got our narrators are these 2 robots who, like,
Yeah.
monitor my multiverse. There's
Okay.
Armin and AI 0 AI 0 shoot, a bunch of numbers.
Yeah,
I
it
know them,
is.
I
Yeah.
promise I know them. So and they're like my multiverse monitors, but the theme is we're the aliens because Eoterra is a completely different planet. So I call my fans strangers, and you can
Yeah.
join the stranger army, and we're the aliens. And I'm like board my intergalactic spaceship and come to Eoterra because you can make a profile and integrate with Eoterran society.
Yeah.
It's just really nerdy and geeky and silly.
Oh, that's the best. I mean, look, the sun geek freaks. We're all on board with that. We're totally that. We're on
Yeah.
board. That's perfect. Oh man. All right, so that's Bitsy underscore the underscore alien. We'll have the links, of course, below. Make sure you guys follow everything. Again, Bitsy, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
All right, guys, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Adios.
Bye.